talk about the first part of 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After Tell All, the first part. And I will say, I'm not going to lie, at first, I wasn't really looking forward to this tell all because I think this whole season has kind of been a dud. But the fact they threw all these cast members in one house together, I think it does make it worth watching. So they decided to get this big mega mansion with a bartender, with an open bar with bottomless drinks so they can keep all these cast members drunk and probably being as messy as possible. And they end up having all the cast members show up. I noticed that Jasmine didn't show up with Matt though. I have a feeling that Gino was probably like, okay, I'll show up, but there's no way I'm going to show up if Matt and Jasmine are both there. Or I have a feeling they're going to wait till like the very end to let Matt show up. But I also think since they don't really have a lot of family nearby, that they probably don't have anybody to watch the baby, so he's probably back like at the hotel with the baby while she's at the house. But anyways, let's get into what happened. So we see Brandon and Julia, and they admitted that they still have not told Brandon's mother or parents that Julia's pregnant, and she is 6 months pregnant at this point. And I will say, though, she's very small. Like, you can't even tell that she's pregnant. But she's not going to be able to hide it for much longer. Here in the next month or two, there's not going to be any hiding it. And she's going to have to be forthcoming. But I'm going to keep it real. I'm not really buying this whole storyline one bit. You can't tell me that little Debbie's twin, a.k.a. Brandon's mom, has not popped up at their house and surprised them and seen that Julia's pregnant. They seem so close, like they probably went to Taco Tuesday together every Tuesday. It seemed like they had a key to Brandon's house to just pop up whenever. I mean, we saw when they surprised them whenever Julia had her parents come over, just unexpected. They just surprised them. So I'm not buying that they had no idea. I just have a feeling that Brandon and Julia probably get along great. They really don't have any drama. So this is TLC's setup for a storyline. I think TLC just loves them because they're willing to do whatever BS storyline that TLC feeds them. And if they're not willing, or well, if they don't have any drama going on, then they know that Brandon's parents are willing to go along with whatever and will come stir up some drama. And now let's talk. I just want to touch on Darcy and Georgie real quick. There's really not a lot with them in this first episode, but it kind of felt uncomfortable. It felt like Jasmine and Georgie were kind of flirting a bit. Like, he kept giving Jasmine sips out of his drinks. And you know, or what's her name? Darcy's always talking about how she feels like he's too flirty, but she wasn't really calling him out for that. But if he's doing that kind of stuff at the bar on the daily, like if he's doing this in front of the cameras, then what is he doing when the cameras aren't around? Like, he seemed like a little flirtatious, and then Jasmine's like sitting there trying to lick on a cherry right in front of Georgie, and I felt like she was trying to do that for Georgie, or maybe she's trying to get some more subscribers on her OF. But Darcy's boobs, oh my god, they look so uncomfortable. She's gotta chill because all the cheek filler is starting to give Jigsaw, and all the boobage is starting to give Blow Up Doll. Like, it's not so much just like all the boobage, but it's pushed up so high and so tight together. Like, I understand, you know, a lot of women spend a lot of money on push-up bras and, you know, that tape that people use on their boobs and stuff to be able to achieve this look, but I don't know, that just looks so painful to me. And I don't know, I just don't think it looks so good. I mean, just let it have a little bit of sag or something and make it look a little bit more natural. But I know that's not really the look that Darcy's going for. She's just gone so far out from where she started. But anyways, then we see Elizabeth and Andre show up. And as soon as they show up, they're being messy as hell. They're sitting there looking out the window, talking shit and judging everyone. They're talking about how Jovi looks wasted as he's just sitting there like playing basketball. They had something to say about everyone, and they just get on my damn nerves because they're always going to make something out of nothing. And then next thing you know, Andre was like, hey, Jovi, I want to take you aside. So they go to the bar, and Andre was like, so I want to know why you blocked me on Instagram. And Jovi was like, well, because when you guys left, you guys were talking crap on us, and I guess Elizabeth called Yar like this really inappropriate name, like in Russian. And he's like, that's like the worst thing you can call someone in Russian. And she called Yara that. So yeah, I don't want anything to do with you. Like, I'm not gonna be all fake. And he's like, oh well, we're sending memes to each other, you know. He thought Jovi was his boy, so he's a little butthurt when Jovi suddenly blocked him. But Jovi's like, look, I'm just not with the fake shit. I'm not gonna sit here and act like your friend. Andre kept kind of just like gaslighting Jovi, and he was trying to get Jovi to admit that he's the one that started the crap and it was all his fault, and he was refusing to take any accountability or reflect on his part and everything that unfolded. And Jovi's like, I'm not gonna sit here and take credit for something that I didn't do. I think that's what you need to do. And Andre just started getting heated. Jovi started getting heated. The next thing you know, Jovi smacked Andre's water bottle off the damn table and went flying. Then Andre picked it up, threw it at Jovi. Jovi ducked right in time and missed the water bottle. Then he picked it up and then he threw it and chucked it across the room and tried to hit Andre, but luckily it missed. And then Andre got in Jovi's face and he says, oh, you want to act like a little bitch? You want to go? And Jovi's like, look, I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not about to fight with you. But it's like, okay, if you're going to be smacking people's water bottles and stuff, then you better be ready to fight. That poor bartender in the background, he's like, they're not paying me enough for this shit. Feel like I'm in Zeus Network, not TLC. But I mean, I really don't think it was worth fighting over at the end of the day. And Andre acted like he was trying to come to a solution, but I don't think he was. I think he just wanted Jovi to kind of admit defeat and kind of look like a pussy at the end of the day. And I don't think he's willing to admit that he was wrong, because I think he thinks in his eyes that's going to make him look like weak or less as a person. And then Jasmine, she was telling everybody about Gino and how ridiculous Gino was, and people asked her about Matt. They're like, okay, so how did you get pregnant with Matt? Like, were you just letting him raw dog it? And she's like, well, for educational purposes, he actually had sex with me in the shower, and I guess the condom just like disintegrated. I'm like, okay, that is the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Like, I'm not saying it's not possible. Like, I'm sure with the friction, it doesn't help. But you could just tell the way Jasmine said it, she wasn't even sure of herself. You could tell that she wasn't even buying what she was saying. So I'm not buying one bit that's what happened. I just feel like she doesn't want to admit on national TV that she was letting him raw dog it months into meeting her while she was married to another man. She would just rather come up with a bunch of BS. Then we saw Gino show up, and he was the last one there. And he walks in, and everybody's outside at the pool party. He's creeping out the window, seeing who's all there. I made all these memes for this picture of Gino looking out the window. But you know, like with my social anxiety, oh my gosh, my anxiety would be through the roof, especially knowing that Jasmine's there. If I was in Gino's shoes, like having to walk out and just, you know, say hi to everybody and just know that you're pretty much walking into the fire. But as soon as he finally does come across some people there, he starts talking to like Jovi and Georgie, and they were sitting there hyping freaking Gino up. They're like, hey, Jasmine's been talking so much shit on you. Pretty much this is all the stuff that I predict in my head that the producers are probably telling all the cast members on the side, you know, to hype them up and get them to be messy. Like, I bet, like, you know, with the Yara and Jovi, or the Yara and Elizabeth and Lauren situation, I bet the producers were going to the other girls and were like, oh yeah, you hear Elizabeth said about this about you? You heard, you know, they did it on camera, but I bet the producers were doing it too. But anyway, so they show up, or Gino shows up, and all the guys were like, yeah, Jasmine's talked so much shit on you. She's turning everyone against you. So if you want any chance at anybody believing you, then you need to confront her right now. And I mean, that's a lot to put on him as soon as he walks in the door. But I mean, Gino was ready to get to it. So he walked out the door, And as soon as he walks up to the pool, he's like, oh, hey, Jasmine, so I heard you're talking shit on me. And I will give credit to Gino because he always talked about how he's going to talk so much smack when he sees Jasmine. But then he kind of is like a dog and like cowards and puts his tail in between his legs usually when he sees Jasmine. He'll be like, oh, I'm going to call her this and that and confront her. But finally, he was able to confront her, and he's like, yeah, so you've been talking crap on me. You're a fraud. You're a liar. And he's like, Matt is not about to get no freebie. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm not a freaking piece of furniture. And he's like, well, look, I paid thousands of dollars to get you over here on the K1 visa. You need to go back to Panama, and Matt can pay all the money to get you back over. And do you guys think Matt would be willing to do that if she did move back to Panama? Do you think he'd be willing to go through the visa for her? Jasmine acts like she wouldn't be willing to do that because she would potentially lose her daughter, but I feel like Matt should be able to do the visa process. I mean, we know Gino can't do the visa process again because his lawyer told him he's used up all his visas. I guess you only get 2 visas in a lifetime, and Gino's already used them up, one for Jasmine and one for another Brazilian wife. And he just thought since his first Brazilian was so successful that Jasmine was gonna be like that. But I mean, at the same time, what do you really expect when you find somebody on a sugar baby website? Like, he complains about Jasmine using him, but at the end of the day, you really asked to be used at the end of the day and knew what you were getting into. So he sat there and was calling out Jasmine. Jasmine told him to call ICE, and then she walked off. And then they end up coming across each other again, and they're fighting, and she's like, you are not a good husband. She said, the first day I came, you literally had crap in the toilet. And I remember that. Like, when the camera zoomed in on it, like, I would have been so mortified if that was Gino. But come on, man. Like, flush the damn toilet, man. Especially when you know Jasmine is coming over and you have a camera crew coming over. Like, you should be doing a whole walkthrough of your house before you just be letting people up in it. Especially cameras and Jasmine for the first time after moving from another country. But Kara did crack me up because Kara was like, well, how does that equate to you cheating and sleeping with another man, though? And she's like, well, look, we had an open marriage. And Gino was like, no, you are a freaking fraud. And he just thinks that he screams it enough that everybody's going to believe it. Everybody's going to turn against Jasmine. But I think people are kind of like set in where they stand. It kind of seems like the guys are siding more with Gino. The females are siding more with Jasmine outside of Kara. I'm assuming that Kara was probably close with Gino coming into this because was writing, not writing so hard for Gino, but she was talking crap to Jasmine and standing up to Jasmine. And I'm glad to at least see someone doing that because usually it just kind of seems like Jasmine just kind of bulldozes over everyone and screams over everyone. I'm glad someone's at least like disagreeing with her. I know a lot of people didn't like that Kara had things to say, but it's nice to see someone challenge Jasmine, and I like seeing that one girl, what's that girl that Natalie challenged Jasmine at the tell-all too. But yeah, so Jasmine got so pissed off. She's like, Gino's trying to ruin my night. I'm trying to hang out with people, but she can't even hang out and enjoy herself and have drinks because as soon as she sits down and chills, Gino comes walking in talking about how she needs to get deported and how she's a fraud, and she's just tired of it. So she decides to walk off with her drink. She comes across this suitcase. She realized it was Gino's, and she decided to get her lick back. She decided to she had like a drink and a half in her hand, and she poured one drink on his suitcase, and it wasn't just on his suitcase. I'm like, okay, on the suitcase, all right, that's not too bad. But no, she straight unzipped it and poured it all over the clothes, and God knows what else was inside his suitcase. And then she even opened up his backpack and poured it all over the top of his backpack. Like, she didn't go completely all over it, but you're like dumped it on the top. So I feel like a lot of it's gonna go down to the bottom, and if he has any electronics or chargers in there, she could have potentially damaged them. So that is super out of pocket. But I've seen a lot worse on reality shows before. I've seen people screw up people's belongings. Like, didn't that happen on Flavor of Love or something like that? Or what was it? Bad Girls Club, I think it was, when they like threw everybody's belongings out into like a pool when they got mad. But then she decided to take it to a whole nother level. And then she takes off her panties. And the producers like, Jasmine, wait a minute. Like, they're on board up until she took off her panties. Because I think they thought she's about to piss all over his belongings. I know that's what I thought she's about to do. I'm like, Jasmine, do not take it there right now. But she decided to take off her panties and rub it all over Gino's suitcase. All up and down inside the crevices. Like, she got it good. Like, she pretty much left no freaking inch unturned on his suitcase. And she even got his backpack, and I think she even left the panties there afterwards to let him know who did it. And I mean, she probably got freaking her panty juice from sitting there and flying all day, and no telling, they could probably have some of Matt's jizz left over in there from raw dogging it the day before. Like, no telling. And she just rubbed that all over all his stuff. She even opened up his suitcase and poured freaking alcohol and rubbed her dirty panties all over the inside of his suitcase. And I feel like that's where producers should have stopped her. Because, I mean, that man's tell-all outfit's in there. He's probably going to be walking in the tell-all smelling like freaking dirty coochie and Matt's jizz and freaking Long Island iced teas or whatever alcohol she was drinking. Like, she took it way too far. And what cracked me up is later on Gino was like, man, I gotta take a shower because I smell like Jasmine. I gotta get it off me. Well, yeah, you probably do. You probably do after she just rubbed her dirty panties all over you. And if I was him, I would have felt some type of way when I watched the tell-all, knowing these producers are probably smiling and acting like my buddy in my face were allowing this to happen. Because I'm sure if he tried to do the same to Jasmine stuff, oh, hell no. I don't think they would have let that fly. They should have let Gino know so he could have got his lick back while he was there. But that's pretty much it, guys. I was going to do the tell-all portion, but I've been sick for 3 weeks and my voice is just so dry and itchy, and talking for this long already is just really getting to my voice. So I got to take a break. So I'll do the tell-all portion, like the second part of the first part of the tell-all, in a separate video. So stay tuned for that. But what do you guys think about the part of them in the house in the first part of the tell-all? Like, they could have kept this season of Happily Ever After. They should have just thrown all the cast members in a house for 4 weeks or 16 weeks and gave them bottomless alcohol and seen what happened. Like, if we could have just got a whole season of this, that would have been great. Like, not just like the Miami couples, but you know, the rest of them. I mean, we didn't really need the Miami couples. We didn't need a lot of these couples. They could have just kept them, but I mean, it would have been more interesting in the house. But you guys let me know what you think about everything, and thank you so much for watching.